Well, welcome in Broncos country. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. My name's Keith Brugman. I'm not alone. I'm joined by, well, my good friend Trevor Rocket Man Salzman. Not the way we wanted to end a season, man. Not the way that we wanted to see us go down, but we'll take some pride in where we got. But right now we're going to be talking about this game. Unfortunately, a 31-7 loss. Trevor, welcome to the show, man. How you doing? How you feeling after, obviously a disappointing loss, no matter how you look at it?
Yeah, disappointing, Keith. And again, I know we made our predictions on Friday and whatnot, but you never want to be right about a loss. But it's just one of those things where the Buffalo Bills, as a franchise, they're just in a different spot where the Broncos are at. The Broncos are still building, of course. So, no, I mean, a loss is a loss. I think again, this game was a 7-10 game going in halftime. The score right now maybe be a little bit, misleading because of 31-7. But man, you were in this game to 7-10, and for the most part, you're in this game. If some things go your way, there might be a tied game going in halftime, obviously with the missed field goal, and some better second half adjustments maybe. And this could have been a different ball game. But you were right there for at least half the game against a really good Buffalo Bills team that has a chance to possibly win the Super Bowl, if not make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It was a tough matchup. We were talking just a little bit before, you're going up against the second seed. You're talking about MVP caliber quarterback. You're talking about a team that, a lot of people said, hey, if they get past here, they might have that run towards the Super Bowl, and looked at this as maybe being their biggest obstacle in the Denver Broncos. So Scott's coming in here a couple of times saying, boy, oh boys, Bills spanked our Broncos. Also saying Rocket Man called the winner, but the rest of us hoped for it. We hoped for that win, right? You called it. We talked a little bit about that, man. 8.5 point, spread to open up. The number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. It is tough, even myself, to kind of take the fan hat off sometimes and go out there and be a true analyst and really look at what's going on. And yeah, I'm not going to blame you, Trevor, for giving a prediction that gave the Buffalo Bills the win in this round, because at best we thought it was going to have to be a really close game for the Broncos to pull this out. And even you, a 31-21 Broncos loss is what you predicted. Not for that far off, especially when you start talking about the overall points that the Buffalo Bills end up scoring. Our good friend Phil McLaughlin, though, coming in and saying, afternoon, Keith and Rocket Man. Well, Knicks played good. Defense sucked. Great year. Great team. Let's get into it, man. I want your opinion first and foremost. What was the crux of this loss for the Denver Broncos, in your opinion? What was some of the keys, or a key? Maybe we can go back and forth a little bit and get the Posse involved as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know first and foremost we have to start with Mr. James Cook. 23 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. We said it on Friday in our pregame show. James Cook's a guy that's that should be, the Broncos should be definitely be worried about. They were and it should game plan around to stop him and contain him. If the Broncos were going to come out of this game victorious, they needed to contain James Cook, and unfortunately, it just didn't happen today. And you said it, and I think we all said it on Friday. This is going to be a long game if James Cook was able to get it going on the ground. And that's for me where it starts defensively. And he put up 190 yards last year against the Broncos on the ground when Denver would travel to Buffalo last year. So he has a history of putting up these big games against Denver. And Unfortunately, when you're running the football the way Buffalo was offensively, it really starts opening up your pass game. I didn't think Josh Allen had a great game. He was off target on a couple throws, started to settle down a little bit as the game went on, but definitely some missed throws, a couple touchdowns that could have been on the board, and he overthrew. But I mean, I think that Denver's defense held strong for at least the first half. Second half, it was difficult. I think the defense wore out as the game went on just because of the offense inabilities to stay on the field. Because we also said it as well, Keith, in order for the Broncos to win this game, their offense had to be able to sustain drives, and they just were not able to do that other than the first drive when obviously Bo Nix made that fantastic throw. They weren't able to stay on the field long enough. When you're not able to stay on the field long enough, you're putting your defense in a really difficult spot against one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And it's just that's what happened in this game. And unfortunately, it led to a Denver Broncos loss and it ended their season.
Yeah, end of the season. But like you said, man, the first and foremost, James Cook. We went out there. And by the way, Phil, thanks so much for dropping a couple hundred stars coming in with your comments and your thoughts on how this game went awry for the Denver Broncos. But yeah, we need to be able to contain James Cook. It was difficult to watch because it was also trying to contain a Josh Allen at times. And we never really had a handle on either one of those, questions will come up in the offseason where upgrades need to happen and maybe personnel changes that we need to see, but just did not have the strength, probably in multiple levels in order to match up against not only offensive line. Buffalo Bills, came out, Pro Football Network, they ranked them during the regular season, the number 4 offensive line out there. I mean, I know that the Denver Broncos are number 1, and we hold that proud. We have a fantastic offensive line and great things to build off in the future. But this offensive line for the Buffalo Bills are no joke either. And they open up holes for James Cook and, really didn't allow too much pressure on Josh Allen either. It was disappointing from that defensive standpoint to see that. I'll be honest, man, if I'm going to kick off a key myself of why we lost this game, I did not like the play calling of one Sean Payton in this game at all. We talked about it leading in on Friday. This is a game where you're playing with house money, where you might as well put all your cards on the table. And especially when it started getting late into, now the fourth quarter, and we're still just trying to drive the ball into the middle of the line, something that obviously wasn't working regardless of the running back that it seemed like we had out there. You need to start putting up points. That this Buffalo team can put up more points. And I just thought we got going or tried to get going too late, and it played itself out as it got away with from us really in the end. Really not showing maybe how, like you said, how much we were actually in this game. I mean, we were a doink away from going in with a 10-10, tie into halftime and talking about, hey, it's a 0-0 game. We got 2 quarters to go out there and decide who wins. That was big too, man. That was big too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to the whole Sean Payton thing, remember Tyler Badie was active today for the first time since week 4 against the Jets. Where was Tyler Badie today? I mean, I know that maybe he wasn't going to be the focal point of this offense, but he wasn't really even part of this offense today. What was the whole point of activating him? Audric Estime is inactive, which is fine, but what's the plan for that? And there just didn't seem like there was a plan at all. I mean, Tyler Badie today, 2 carries for 8 yards. I mean, and didn't get involved in the passing game at all. So it's like, the point of that was what? That's just some of the questions that you have with Sean Payton's play calling and the plan offensively. And I thought that you should have tried a little bit harder to try to sustain the run game a little bit more, because you want to try to keep Josh Allen off the field. We talked about it again on Friday, Keith. That was one of our keys. You have to try to keep Josh Allen off the field. That is one of the best ways you can beat elite offenses, elite quarterbacks like that, is to keep them off the field, not let them touch the field, and really control the time of possession of the game. And Denver didn't do that at all today.
No, not at all, man. Basically 18 minutes to 42 minutes. If you look at the time of possession, the Denver Broncos were completely on the wrong side of time of possessions. Another one that I was looking at was our third down conversions, something that one of the horsemen talked about. That was Jody the Judge Moncrief coming in on Friday and talking about how we need to make sure that third down conversion was a big key to a win in this game. Didn't get the win. Jody is also out there on commenting with the posse, just like the rest of you. Appreciate it so much. Jody jumped in and he says drops did not help. There were 5 today, and that was reiterated a couple of times throughout the chat so far. But you're absolutely right. Whether it was Vele down the stretch, man, there was a couple of drops by Vele down the stretch that obviously came in big. I'm glad that Franklin came in with one big catch. But besides that, there was struggles. There was struggles by Cortland Sutton. There were struggles. I believe Marvin Mims dropped one as well. There were drops out there, and we talked about this on Friday. Trevor, I think you talked about this exclusively, that we don't have missed opportunities and those chances at missed opportunities out there.
Yeah. I mean, they're just you can't. You have to capitalize on every single thing that comes about. When we're talking about missed field goals, I'm not trying to pick on Will Lutz here because it happens. You can't do that in the playoffs against this good team. And I mean, again, the Buffalo Bills are a 2 seed, the number 2 seed for a reason. They have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, and you can't afford to miss on errors consistently, and that becomes with the drops too. Also, I can't wait to go back and watch this game even more closely with Bo Nix, because I do think Bo did some things well today. There's a couple of throws that I think he did miss out there that could have been just a little bit more crisper. So I'm curious. We'll break it down Tuesday. Yeah. I get a chance to watch the game a little bit more and pay attention to that before I go out on a limb and say anything. But just offense in general just didn't play well. Just not just one guy, with just a number of different things in general, from the play calling to the players. It's just got to be better going forward.
Yeah, not our best performance that we went out there and put out there altogether. And like I said, in my opinion, kind of started with Sean. You start getting a few drops involved. You can't get the run game going. You're not converting on third down. Your time of possession starts getting out of control. And then at that point, with a number 2 seed type of team, it's going to be a rough uphill battle to try to get into that game again and make it competitive and hopefully win and move on, which ultimately we did not. But Kenny's coming in here, the stepfather himself. He comes in here. He's kind of giving us a little bit of a consolation. He says, "Hey, fellas, not the outcome we wanted, but hats off to a good season. Now work on off season, and top priority is tight end to help Nick's out some." Our horseman comes in and says, "This season was a success because we found our franchise QB. This lacks massive talents. George Payton has work to do getting Nick's weapons," kind of just doubling down on that offensive side of the ball. It was very, very difficult, going out there, going up against this, like we said, this Buffalo Bills team. They grounded out. They worked it really well. There was maybe even a little bit of frustration going on between Sean and VJ that we saw near the end of the game as well. But it was on both sides, man. It was tough going on offense. The defense had trouble getting stops, getting pressure, causing any type of havoc like we've seen in the past games. It just seemed like the Buffalo Bills were able to be out there and poised and confident and kind of dictate what they need to do. We'll have opportunities in the future. My good friend Jeremy says, "Hey fellas, go Broncos. What an embarrassment of a game." I wouldn't go as far as embarrassment. It never felt like it was just terrible and bad. I mean, we all watched some games where it just turnover left, right, and otherwise, and you're just, you were never in it to begin with. We talked about it, Trevor. This is a game that we were in it at halftime and had the opportunity to come out in the second half and maybe make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, the team was in it, they were in it. And I mean, that's not like, the final score can always be a little bit of a challenging thing to kind of diagnose, because it looks like it was an embarrassing game more than what it was. You were in it. It came down to a couple plays that, wasn't able to be made from Denver standpoint, and Buffalo they were able to make it. And I think, Keith, this is what happens as well. Playoff experience also comes into play here when it comes to the Buffalo Bills know how to win in the playoffs. The Broncos first time they've been back to the playoffs since 2015. They don't have that as much experience on their side. So I think there's something to that as well in this game. That's something that I seen in this game just from a Broncos standpoint.
Yeah. Mark McCullough coming in and saying Bills are the top scoring second half team in the league. They play it conservative early and then turned on late usually. Broncos have a bright future. And Nix is a gamer for sure. Yeah, he goes out there and like Jeremy says, someone worth building around. Absolutely, man. I mean, we talked about that, Trevor. I know that you'd like to let things play out. You know, the CJ Stroud and what he had this last season did not look all that good, just as a recent example, you know. But I think this is probably one of the better comments to really better analyze what we think we have, especially from your perspective and a little bit from mine as well. He's someone worth building around, though. That's the key. It's not something where it's like, if a better option comes around. No, it's someone worth building around.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for me, it's just waiting to see when he becomes elite because Peyton Manning wasn't elite his first year. You know, it just takes these guys some time to get to that elite level. That's where I'm at. It's, Bo Nix is definitely worth building around without a doubt. I think you made that stamp when you drafted him, 12th overall, but I'm just waiting to see when he truly becomes elite. And I think that, to be fair for Bo, I want to give him time because there's some things he can work on, be better for sure. And you're going to have more playmakers likely around him to help him become a better quarterback. So until that happens, we won't see the true full potential of Bo Nix. We've seen spurts this year. Don't get me wrong. He's passed the eye test for me. I think that he's absolutely worth building around. Can he be elite? That's yet to be determined, but we don't need to figure that out right now. We know right now is he is worth building around, and you have to put the necessary resources around him to be successful going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting some agreement from Pearl as well. Bill's saying, "Hey, Denver, you won a Buffalo. What happened?" You know what? If you start looking all the way around, I said I wanted KC when the playoffs first started heating up and it looked like we had an opportunity. But yeah, when you start looking around, and you'll be able to find out here probably soon enough. Kansas City, the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, these are not teams that I'm also necessarily, or the league isn't necessarily lining up to play, especially in the playoffs. I mean, Kansas City, for all their regular season, I don't know, karma, luck, 4-leaf clovers, refs in the back pocket, whatever you want to say. When it comes playoff time, they do play a different brand of football, and a brand of football that's very difficult to match up against. So, yeah, Buffalo might have been our best opportunity. A lot of people even called this out, maybe being the best opportunity for an upset this weekend. But in the end, like I said, for me, it started with our coach Sean Payton. Man, started with the play calling, and it didn't get any better from there. So, for Trevor, James Cook had a James Cook type of day, like he did the last time we played for us, like he's been doing much of all this season across all teams and all opponents. Man, he had his days. Man, that's what happened to me, in my opinion, first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, and Sean Payton, I'm in agreement with you, though, Keith, as well. I think Sean Payton definitely deserves some blame in this one because of this offense being this inconsistent. Don't get me wrong, the defense has to be better, and yeah, they have to do a better job, like you said. And like I said earlier, containing James Cook, but you knew this is an offense in the Buffalo Bills that was going to put up points. You had to be able to move the football offensively. If you keep punting the football to Josh Allen, eventually he will hurt you.
Yeah, and in this team, I mean, they developed this team. This was a team that just a year ago was trying to feed Stephon Diggs, was trying to feed Gabe Davis. They got rid of both of those guys. They became a more complete team. James Cook took his offseason. He got better in so many different ways. This defense is good enough. It's not great, but it's good enough, especially when you have an offense that's chugging along like that. And that's, hey, any given Sunday, this game could have went either way, in my opinion. Well, not either way, but this could have been a win for the Denver Broncos, or this could have been a loss for the Denver Broncos any given Sunday. I still think we got probably the worst end of the stick on this when it came to just the overall outcome of the game. I didn't necessarily see us hanging a 31-7 loss. Graham's coming in and again, just kind of reiterating a lot of what we're hearing. Heart got ripped out, but a playoff appearance is a playoff appearance. The future is bright. Graham over at the K&K Sports Show as well, man, but a big Broncos fan. And you're absolutely right. We need to have, I don't know, faith. And I know that we were talking in the chat throughout the game, Trevor, the culture and where this team is heading, it's bright.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets brighter from here because guess what? I know the season just ended, but look at the flexibility you're going to have in the offseason when it comes to cap space and draft capital and whatnot. Now you have the necessary resources to go out there and build this team the way you envisioned it, the way Sean Payton, George Payton, they're going to envision this roster. Now they have the flexibility to do that. So that's something to look forward to this offseason as well. This is a team that just was kind of handicapped. And not kind of, they just were handicapped when it came to eating the dead money from Russell Wilson's contract, obviously moving off of him last offseason. So they're going to have the flexibility that this team's going to have going forward is going to be huge in shaping this roster up the way they want it on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, because there's some holes defensively too that this team can definitely improve upon this offseason as well.
I'm glad that you brought that up because we do get a lot of comments that, hey, as our running back solved? Maybe not. Is our tight end solved? Maybe not. Could we use another good, pass catching, threat on this offense? Maybe. But there's two sides of this ball, and I know this defense has looked really good throughout this year, but it doesn't mean it goes without holes themselves, Trevor. There's holes on this defense that, like you said, with the draft capital, or I'll just say what it is, with the draft picks that we have, with the money that we'll have to spend, with the guys that we went through this season and locked down throughout the season. That's key as well. You know what I mean? Making sure that you're getting them, well, honestly, about as cheap as you possibly can, and they're on your team. We did that quite well throughout this season. So now we enter this offseason with what should be a lot of excitement. You know what I mean? We have opportunities to absolutely build this team, and it only gets better the year after that. And, as long as we don't go crazy, do anything crazy, it'll only get better in the future. The future looks very bright for the Denver Broncos. I know it didn't look too bright out there today, especially, after the second half really started and it started getting away from us. But there are some key pieces on here. 5 All-Pros, just to give you a prime example of the type of team this Denver Broncos team has fielded, the culture that has changed from being ugly and, just a unorganized mess of a team just a few years ago to be where we're at, to be punching our card into the playoffs, even if it ends up being a loss, like Graham says, man, future is bright. And I'm excited, Trevor. I'm excited to see where this team can go from here. And that's, hey, we talk a lot of times about being excited about our team. This is the first time since podcasting for the Denver Broncos, that I can truly feel like I'm really excited going into this offseason with everything we have in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you also had player growth this year, and specifically on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, Nick Bonito, I mean, now he really emerged as your number one. You look like you have a Batman edge rusher on this defense. Pastor Tana had another great year. Zach Allen had a great year. Arguably should have been a Pro Bowler. So you have pieces to build around. The foundational pieces, I think, are there for this team. You just need more of it. And I think you need more time and you need more flexibility to be able to put that together. So that's where this team is headed going forward in the offseason. But there's definitely some key takeaways from this season that you can take away and keep your head held high with this team, not only making the playoffs, but with also some of the personal accolades that some of these other guys got and how much this roster improved throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Graham's over here, I think with me, you, and a lot of us, man. But Graham's saying people might accuse me of not being a fan, but you can't win them all. I'm okay only 2 teams can make it to the Super Bowl, and only one comes out a champion. Yeah, it's disappointing. I've been sitting there on the edge of my couch hoping that it's going to be a win with all of you Broncos country. You know what I mean? But that being said, there is, you know, I'm not the 12-year-old fan I once was, where it was devastating. And I'd probably be in my room crying right now. Well, let's not bring out all the closets. But that being said, it is, you do have some realization of who you are, where you're at, what you're building, and that maybe you're not just quite there yet. And there's going to be always teams that are, a step ahead and a step behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, you're taking away, for us, we really can't, have time to dwell on this games. I mean, we can go back and watch and look at film, but it's on to the next show. It's on to the next thing for the Broncos. And there's a busy offseason. This show continues to go throughout the offseason.
Yeah.
It's truly the NFL. I know it kind of stalls for a little bit after the season ends, but it picks right back up with the free agency, the drafts, 3-day show. So it's truly, it's going to be a busy offseason going forward, and looking forward to it, because I think that there's something with this team that I think that can continue to grow, and you can continue to make those steps forward. Because just like Graham said, there's only one champion in the NFL and one team that can ultimately hoist that Lombardi trophy. And a lot of things, Keith, we've had Super Bowl champions on the show before. They've said everything has had to go right for us to get to where we wanted to go to ultimately raise that Lombardi trophy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, I was sitting there, my wife's on the couch with me, and I'm like, that's kind of the game I felt like we had to play against this Buffalo Bills. Things had to go right. I told her, okay, well, now that we're down by a couple of scores and it's starting to get a little bit late, now I need to start thinking about turnovers and extra opportunities. We didn't see that. There's a comment early, penalties were pretty non-consequential in this game, especially for the Denver Broncos. And unfortunately, on the other side of things, we didn't get anything, large in our favor when it came to a turnover or anything like that. It would have been great to see an interception for a touchdown to get back into this game and change some momentum and the like. But a clean game, really, honestly, by kind of both teams and the way that they played it. There wasn't, like I said, a whole lot of penalties. There wasn't a whole lot of turnovers. Yeah, it got chippy at times, but that was about the extent of it.
Yeah, and you gain valuable experience in the playoffs. Now, some of these younger players, not just Bo Nix, Marvin Mims. Now he understands, what it takes to play in the playoffs. Troy Franklin, a lot of these younger guys that are going to be around. Now they have that valuable playoff experience that they can take and move forward with that and learn from it going forward and be better for it. And I think that that's something that we can take away. One of the bright spots there is you have a team that just went through going to the playoffs when nobody expected them to. They've exceeded expectations. Now they know what it's like to be in the playoffs and face a team like the Buffalo Bills away on the road, and they can be better for it going forward. So I think that valuable playoff experience is huge for the Denver Broncos' future and what could come going forward.
Yeah. Trevor, we're almost right at the end of our 30 minutes. We try to go 30 minutes, but honestly, like I said, we'll come back. We're a year-round show. We're a year-round podcast. We're going to be back on Tuesday. We're going to be back on Friday. We're going to be breaking down the game on Tuesday and kind of diving deep into what exactly happened. Look at a little bit of film, look a little all 22, give you Broncos fans maybe a few more insights that weren't necessarily there during the big coverage by the big guys out there, and be able to break it down for you a little bit. But again, hats off to a Denver Broncos team. I just want to say that, man, this is a team that went out there in the first 2 games. They did not look like they were on track to do much of anything this season. They turned it around. They've got a fantastic culture. They've got some amazing playmakers. They've got all pros on this team. They got a coach quarterback combination that is to be envied. And, looking forward, the future, whether it be draft picks, whether it be how much cap space we have, whether it be, as Jody was saying, players just wanting to come in here and play with this team, which is something to be said in and of itself. The future is bright, man. This was, unfortunately, maybe not the best representation this game, and especially the overall score. But I'm proud of the team that went out there and they played hard today. And sometimes it just doesn't come out in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to answer this question from Scott real quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott, the $32 million, the Broncos will have to eat that this year for the Russell Wilson's $85 million dead cap. They ate the $53 million this season. They ate they kind of pushed that forward and to back in that with the $32 million so they'd have more flexibility this offseason. They took a brunt of that last offseason. So that's another silver lining going to the offseason. Now you don't have to eat as much of that, a dead cap hit that you had to for Russell Wilson this year. So that's a great way to split that up. Now you have more flexibility to use that extra money to go get better players. But it's not just also going outside the organization to get players, Keith. It's also staying in-house what you have inside the organization right now. These players throughout the offseason, they're going to take some time to get away, and they absolutely should. But they're going to continue to get better and grow themselves throughout the offseason, and they're going to work to try to do that. So that in-season, that in-house growth that this team is going to be able to make, Bo Nix, Nick Benito continuing to improve themselves to improve this team going forward is going to be huge too. We're going to talk about this offseason about going outside the organization, what they should do this, they need this upgrade. But the guys that are in that locker room, the guys that will be here next year, they're also going to and should improve going into next year, and they're going to put the work in this offseason. So that's also something to take a look at. Another silver lining for your Denver Broncos going, into the offseason.
Martin, I think this is a great comment to maybe run out on because I like this, man. Martin's coming in and over on YouTube. He says, when the schedules come out, no one is going to want to see the Broncos as an easy win, or no one's going to see the Broncos as an easy win. I said it before. I'll say it again. We're back. And I think you're absolutely right, Martin. We are a competitive team. We have a core nucleus. We have a great culture. Like I said, great coach and quarterback pairing. Future looks bright as far as cap and draft picks and the whole 9 yards. Calls for draft picks or for running backs and the like. I'm seeing coming in as well, but we'll be talking about all that, guys. Gals, we'll be talking a ton of offseason. Again, it's going to be an exciting offseason. It's unfortunate that it's here and that we're talking about the loss that we just endured. But the future is bright, and I can't wait to get back in here. Hey, I'll do this. I'll do my best impersonation of another horseman. I wanted to say thanks again for Phil McLaughlin coming in here. He dropped stars, but Scott was in here. Our good friend Kenny Kirkpatrick and Graham over on the K&K Sports Show. They came in. Another horseman, Jody Moncrief. He joined the show. Luke Pick. He jumped in, and that was a new name for me. Jeremy Dressler, an old name for me. Thank you for joining in. Roy Osborne. Thank you so very much. Ernie Mays was here a little bit earlier as well. Mark McCullough, thank you so much for joining in. I can't forget about Pearl, by the way. Just a quick plug. Morgan Trinkets Co. If you're looking for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, or estate gold at wholesale prices, cannot be beat. Morgan Trinkets Co. over on Etsy. Check them out. You need to go check them out right away. Bill was in here as well. I'm just seeing if I can see any other names. Because Harold Dix, thank you so much. The Bills O-line is severely underrated. He came in with that comment. Martin, thanks again. You helped, get us out of here. My sister was in here, Leanna. John Presley, thank you so much for joining the show. Again, this posse, I can probably keep going. I probably missed a few names, so apologies if I don't get to all of them. But the posse, who we call all the commenters, all the people who come in and really make this show the reason that we're here and that we do this 2-3 times a week. Thank you so much for the season that you guys have had with us. Can't wait to jump into the off season now. I said, again, it's going to be exciting. We're going to go get it. Look forward to bringing you all along for the ride. Trevor, any final thoughts, buddy?
No, just quick thanks to everybody that just continue to support us throughout the season. Again, this concludes our post-game shows for the season, but we're going to continue to bring great content out to you guys, and looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing what's next for the Broncos, and watching film on this game as well. I know it might be a tough game to watch, but nevertheless, we'll watch every game on film, regardless. Even after the fact of the game. So, just a big time thanks to our posse, Keith, because you guys support us no matter when we went live and our post-game shows. And just really want to say thanks from the bottom of my heart, Keith's heart, Dutchie, Jody, everybody here at DBR for just your support. And we're looking forward to the support going forward. So big time thanks to our posse. You guys are amazing. Like Keith said, we do this for you guys. And just thank you. And we're looking forward to the off season. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your day. Enjoy some football if you're wanting to watch some and whatnot. So, but just thank you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and we love you guys, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Outlaw Bill coming in. Another great way to close us out. We ride and die together. Ain't that the truth, man? Posse, you guys have been along for a fantastic regular season, a little bit of a postseason. Can't wait to get into the off season with you all. We'll be back here Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. We're going to get out of here like we always do. Make sure, keep those boots right there in the stirrups, your guns in the holsters, and your Denver Broncos in the heart. Until we see you next time on Tuesday, have a great night, everyone. Enjoy some football and enjoy your weekend.